Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Brunton Park and the Glass Bar for what promises to be a really good evening. Fans forums, we've had quite a few in the past, and to be honest, we've struggled to fill the room. This event sold out in 15 minutes, so that's a testament to the positivity that fans and everybody involved in the club feels, and I'm sure that enthusiasm will be echoed tonight in the room. So we're going to open up the floor for questions. I've received 12-15 questions from fans as well that can't be here tonight because of that unprecedented demand. So I can fill some pauses, some gaps. I may choose to supplement the question that's been asked because it's similar, and therefore we'll try and stick by topics. But I'm not going to push you into one channel or another. We've got 6 members of the panel. I will introduce them because I just don't want to assume that everybody knows everybody. I'm sure, given the recent exposure, everybody's very familiar with Tom and Piatak, our new owners. Less of an introduction for Simpson. Simpson, first manager. Nigel Clemens is well known to everybody, our CEO. Another very important cog in the wheel of the club is Susan Kidd, the finance director. And last but not least, David Noble, who's representing Kiosk as the link and the seat on the board there, part of the 10% share ownership. So David Noble as well. The event is being streamed live on YouTube, so please bear that in mind. Any particular language that you use to phrase the questions. Hopefully we don't get into any of that unnecessary language, but just a gentle warning. So, without further ado, I think it's time to kick off. So, this event sold out in 15 minutes. I hope you've all got questions to ask. So, who's going to go first? Or should I do an icebreaker? Right? Okay. The most popular question that I got from fans, many of whom were disappointed at missing out on the event, was, are you going to do some more forums? And for example, we're from West Cumbria, we're from South Cumbria, we're from Scotland. Can you take this type of thing on the road? And I know, Tom, you've already been asked the question. You said you'll do as many as possible. So are you prepared to go on record and repeat that and take this type of thing on the road out to the whole fan base?
Yeah, we'll definitely repeat it. when we're here, we want to make ourselves available and accessible, and we just need to get that scheduled. But Patty and I and the rest of the family members will certainly make ourselves available to travel wherever and hold a fans forum at a different location.
That's great news. Right, come on. Who's going to go first? Bill?
Hello there. Mine's not more of a statement of the question, it's to Paul. Very disappointed to hear what the fans said at Black Rivals, and you must have been. I'll take you with this time, I think, to see what happened on Saturday. Fans got behind you, got behind the team. I thought we played quite well. And we, just a bit of bad luck in the end. And how you felt about it in the end, the fans and the reception you got?
Well, firstly, I mean, if I go back to the Blackpool game, everybody was disappointed. It was as simple as that. There was huge disappointment from players, from staff, and obviously from supporters. Now, I went into the media afterwards, and I didn't go out with an idea in my mind that I was going to say it. I just felt it when I got out there. And I don't know if you were saying keep your language down because of my little mishap on the radio last time, but I apologise for that. But no, the thing that disappointed me more than anything on the day was what happened with Luke Plange. That's the bit that really, really upset me. I'm 57-year-old. I've been in football for the last 41 years now, so I'm used to football and the abuse that you get with it. I'm not saying it's right, but I am used to it. But I thought it was wrong what happened to Luke Plange, because I think we, as Carlisle people, we as Carlisle supporters, I think we're better than that. And I hoped for better behaviour than that. And I think that's what disappointed me more than anything. So Saturday, I wasn't surprised with the reception that the players and I got as well. I wasn't surprised about it, because that's what I do think that Carlisle United supporters are. So I thanked everybody for that, because I thought the supporters on Saturday were fantastic, because it was a bit of a test for us. I thought we started the game well, and then we go a goal down to a horrible goal, really poor goal to concede. And it would have been really easy for the fans, on the back of the results we've had lately, and if our man's up, the back of the performances lately as well, it would have been easy for them to turn and to get negative, but they didn't. They stuck with us, and I think they saw that the players were still trying to do the right things, and I thought in terms of football it was as good as we've played for a number of weeks on Saturday, and we got ourselves into a good position. I'll say the first goal, Jack Armour won't agree with me, but it was a little bit of luck involved there. Second goal was a well-worked goal, and the disappointing thing at the end with the equaliser, I think it's a really good finish from Bowie, but we had probably 3 opportunities to stop that earlier. We had an opportunity to head it clear and we didn't. Then we should have stayed with the runner. We should have worked harder to stop the cross. So that's me being hypercritical like I am, but we had opportunities to stop that. So that was the disappointing thing. But my overall feeling at the end of the game was I was really chuffed, because after some poor performances, I thought it was a really good performance, and I think everybody could see that there is heart there is a spirit, there is a desire to want to do well. It's just unfortunate that we're just falling a little bit short in terms of the fine margins, but also we're falling short in terms of the level of ability as well.
Anything more from the audience?
It's all right, you could, yeah.
It's one for Paul and for Nigel. One of Paul's wishes is a new training establishment away from the ground. Any progress being made so far?
Well, there's lots of talks going on. There are a number of sites that have been identified. I haven't been to them yet. Nigel, you've been to 2. So there is definitely work going on to try and identify the site. We're all realistic enough to know that we do need it, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's something that is you know, and myself and Tom, when I got the business plan and it was a medium to long term, my immediate reaction was, I'm sorry, but that's a short to medium term. But I understood what he was saying, that we don't actually have a site for it at the moment, so it is going to take time. But there is certainly things going on to try and get the right site. And you know, we've had, I've got to say, we've got local people who are being really, really generous in offering up these sites. And I'm not saying offering free of charge, but they are coming forward and saying this is available if you want it. So maybe Nigel can add a bit more to that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Since the kind of announcements that we wanted to push on with this really quickly after the takeover and news broke in the media, etc., we've had a number of people come to us saying that they've got sizable chunks of land that they were willing to discuss with us. So that means sizes in excess of 20 acres. Now, we're not saying that we might need 20 acres on day one, but we need to be able to grow into that. So anybody who's been to a proper training facility of an elite club where we want to get to knows you need a lot of land. You don't need so many buildings, but you need a lot of land and space, and you need the ability to grow into 4G pitches, covered barns, all these kinds of things. So we've had a number of people come forward. I've been to 2 sites to look. We've got another one to visit, and we've got another 2 to visit. So Paul, Patty, and Tom and I, we're going to have some drive rounds. We're hopefully going to see these before the guys go back to the US, so that we can narrow down the search. It's really encouraging, and it's something we want to push on with really quickly. So at the same time, if there's anybody out there who's got in excess of 20 acres, very close to Carlisle, ideally very flat, not in a floodplain,
And free. Just so that you understand why we're talking about 20 to 30 acres, the plan is sort of a phased planning, that we want to start by getting a site for the first team and for the under-18s, but we then want to be able to have the area and the facility that we can then bring the ladies team on board, and they can work from there. Also then the 9s to 16s academies, we want them to be able to go there, because we currently have Coldew School, which we pay a lot of money for a year to use that facility. We have French Fields where they play the games, which is outside of Carlisle, which is not ideal, where we have to pay to play the games there. So we're looking at it in terms of growing the facility to accommodate what we need for a football club, and that is all of those things. 9s to 16s, the ladies team, and even the ladies and the girls are now getting a development team, which we think is really important for the club, and then the 18s and the first team as well. So we're trying to get somewhere where we can get everybody on board and get everybody as part of it as quickly as we possibly can. So that's why we need something that size.
Yeah, and it goes without saying that we're a community club. One of the things that the guys have talked about since coming in was that they want to provide things and make it better for the community and city. We know that we're lacking facilities generally. Those of you who play in the Neil Centre here will know it's a bit tired, if I put it generously, and that we could do with something to improve that. So all these things all tie together, and certainly community use and having something that the community can be proud of, not just Carlisle United, is right at the top of your plans there. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Question for Tom and Patty. That makes a difference, not criticising the board this time. My first question is regarding the financial details to buy the club. Will that be made public, such as the money invested, the money paid for past debts to Pioneer, and any money given to directors or directors? And the next question is regarding half-season tickets. There seems to be a bit of a market, if you look on social media, for after season tickets, and obviously things will get better in January. So is there any thought to go back on the word to do them?
I mean, I'll take the first part of that, or the first question, which was the cost to acquire. The former shareholders, they did not make any profit off this transaction. They were very thorough in their vetting process, very unselfish, and wanted to make sure the club transferred hands into the right new ownership, which I believe they chose the right new ownership. The cost of the transaction is mostly, the assumption of the legacy debt, which I personally believe we overpaid for. I believe more could have been done there that wasn't, but we weren't going to let that stop the transaction, because when we look at where we want this club to be for this community 10 years from now, the cost of that is actually very small in terms of the 10-year, the vision that we all have of where the club should be. We've also, the cost of the transaction was the future investment in the club, the commitment of the future investment to fund the club to certain amounts, which we agreed to. So the former shareholders, like I said, they did not make a profit off this transaction. They did the right thing, they vetted properly, and I think they made the right choice. The second part of the question, I believe, was about the season tickets. Yeah. I don't think I'm probably the best to answer that. Maybe Suzanne or Nigel would probably be better.
We, in previous years when we've done the half-season tickets, the take-up has been really, really tiny. And then following great sales of season tickets for the start of the season, the feelers we put out is that there wasn't a lot of appetite. It's a big thing to kind of set up on a system, so we thought, well, maybe we leave it. There wasn't much appetite. We'd had good numbers at the turn of the season, so that's why we made the decision not to go with them this year. Obviously, we've got the tickets on sale now for the first game into January, so we wouldn't be able to put any half-season tickets through anyhow, because people probably wouldn't get the seats they wanted. There's still FlexiCard memberships available, like the shorter 7-game pack, so they're a good substitute.
Yeah, we want to try and encourage fans to try and get on board early, and we put a lot of effort into that in the summer, because we got promoted and we all needed as much cash at that point, because the sale might not have gone through to help with the budget and the profitability of the club, etc. So we wanted people to get on board early rather than wait and see. And we said very clear at the start we wouldn't be doing them. We just want to honour that. I think in terms of the deal, everybody knows what the shareholders paid for the shares when they got them, and Tom said they didn't make a profit, so you can work out what they got for them themselves. So that's pretty clear without getting into the detail. In terms of the debt, I've said all along that we owe Pure Pay a significant amount of cash. 2.6 million around that at the time, and substantially all of that had to be paid to get the deal done, which was fair to say disappointing all round, and it was really difficult. And fair play to Tom and the family for stepping up and doing that. I've got to say that we had lots of questions during that time about how the deal was going, etc. And although Tom was very committed and he made it really clear that it wouldn't be an obstacle, and in the end he didn't make it an obstacle, he did what he had to do to get that deal done. But in my view, he was put in a really difficult position. There was talk of other bidders at the time, and that leverage was used to talk up the amount that had to be paid to settle the debt, which I think leaves a sour taste to me. Obviously, we were supported through some really difficult times by EWM at the time. They put a lot of money in, and without that, probably the club could have gone bust. So, as I've said many times in these forums, they deserve eternal credit for that. But at the end, it could have been handled better from our point of view. Everybody knows that we tried to do a deal and reach an agreement for a long, long time. Most of the letters and inquiries were were not really responded to as the best way. We tried all kinds of routes, direct routes, indirect routes, WhatsApps, you name it. We tried it, didn't really get very far, which became very difficult when you're trying to do something and you're batting your head against a brick wall all the time, knowing that any one time the phone could ring and someone could put you into administration and take the club that everybody loves away like that. And we were faced with that risk all the time for a long time. As we got closer to a deal, that, to me, that risk grew, and I didn't like that. So the fact that we had someone who was prepared to step in when they hardly knew the club, they hardly knew the city, yet they were prepared to back all of us and put their hard-earned cash in when others might have helped out, I think is testament to them and says a lot about the other people. And I think we all know that. And people have long memories. So we've got to look forward now, but I'm glad that these guys did what was needed to be done, and they deserve total credit for that.
Nigel, you just said something. I think
This is Billy. Billy used to be on the board of holdings. Still have. Sorry, Billy.
Do you need a microphone?
My bad, I'm totally embarrassed at that. Sorry.
Sorry, what's important to know is from day one, from the first time there was proper conversation between the parties about the takeover of this club, the family said, Tom said, we will put that money into an account and that money will be there. And that was from day one. He honoured that, and right up until the end, you know, that money was parked there. Everything could have gone pear-shaped, everything could have, you know, gone wrong, but he put that money in the account and it was parked there, and I think that was a fantastic gesture, which was the thing that made this transaction go forward. So I think, you know, fantastic credit is due because of that.
You announced that you were going to improve the East Stand a few weeks ago. Do you have a plan to improve the stadium in general? Do you have a plan for a new build elsewhere?
I heard part of that. The East Stand, yes, we have the plans to improve the East Stand. Those are on the easels back there that you can see kind of what we have planned there. We're also going to improve the Warwick end right now. The concessions and the facilities, that's all has to go through the planning process. We have a longer term plan of what we want to do, but given we also have the training facilities that need to go in, everything just needs to be prioritized. The long-term plan is, as I've stated before, is to keep Button Park as Button Park. We think it's just a wonderful asset in the middle of the city, and the walkability to it, and just the home, you know, just being able to have that kind of access is something that you don't see at a lot of these other facilities. And I think that's a shame, because I love the fact that it's in the community. I think it needs to stay there. It does need work. It's, you know, as part of the, I would say as part of the purchase price, you know, there was kind of an undisclosed amount of, we knew there's a lot of money that needs to go into the infrastructure at Button Park to bring it back up. There's a lot of deferred maintenance that needs to go into there. So we're starting on the East Stand. Plans are back there. We're still making some tweaks to them, but hope to get started on that very quick. The Warwick end. When I say the Warwick end, it's really the concessions and the toilet areas and potentially a fan zone. The toilets definitely. But I commit to you that we're going to keep a part of that for history, because that is part of the history of this park, and we want it to be there long term. Whether people continue to use that or the new modern ones, that's a choice that you can make on the game day decision. But after that, you know, we want to come to the west side and really make changes there, mostly for the players and the coaches on that side, because a lot will be moving to to the east side as we get that developed. Longer term, more needs to happen. You know, what happens if we get promoted? Obviously, we have a period of time where we have to do certain things. That'd be a great problem to have. We welcome that problem. We're going to continue to invest and improve at Brunton Park to make it the facility, just bring it up to standards and make it something that we're all proud of.
Just a little add-on to that. The plans are in the back, and Don Reyes, I want to give him a shout out. He's been working tirelessly, so when you see him around, give him a thank you.
Yeah, so as Patty says, that there's some plans for everybody who's in the room to have a look and digest. They're a great illustration of what we're looking at in terms of building out the second floor of the Pioneer stand, so that we can have some more hospitality, because as everybody knows, the hospitality in Foxes, although it's fantastic and come on a really long way, and 74, 75 and Legends and the Raw Lounge, they're all sold out now nearly all the time, so we've got capacity issues, so we need to have more capacity, so we're going to try and get some more lounges on the other side. And then obviously everybody who's been here will know that we've got all those boxes on the top that have never been brought into use, and we need to get them into use. We've got a waiting list for people for the boxes that we've got now, so there is demand. So we want to do that. So the plans are there for everyone to have a look at. For those who are not here tonight, they'll be able to see them soon as well. Do you want to explain to them what we're going to do?
Yes, we're going to put the plans and the visuals online, and then we're going to look for feedback of everybody's, have a look at them, have a look at what's there, what might be missing. So there'll be a little email link where you can send in your suggestions, things that you would like to see, not just for the East End and the Warwick, but kind of all areas. And we'll put it into a little fans plans dossier, a fans plan, and we can kind of build on that, and that can become part of our action plan for moving forward to improve the whole ground the way you guys want it.
But just to come in there, David, I guess kiosk and the voice that you've got in the boardroom will be quite critical and quite important in that role, and fans can give you that feedback directly.
Yeah, all the way along we've been involved in pretty much everything that Tom's tried and the family have tried to do here, and they've asked us for all sorts of ideas. We've had the quick wins that we put out in the summer or a few weeks ago, and those are ongoing as we carry on, and obviously we'll be talking to our members about what their thoughts are on and add into the pot, if you like, of ideas.
Yeah, so there's all kind of things. It's really exciting because there's all kind of things coming together here. So there's, if you think of it under kind of three titles almost, we've got things for the fans, which you've already started to see with the big screen, the canopies in the fan zone, more looms, branding. The plans will show things around the Warwick Road end. That links into disabled facilities that we've been talking about endlessly and never quite got there with. So they're part of that in the Warwick. And we've also got things about that link into the memorabilia project. You'll have seen things that we talked about with Simon and CUSG about an appeal to fans to donate items that we collect and build up our archive that was lost in the previous floods. So part of this is hopefully to build a museum as part of this development. So that's that. So part.
We've waited a long time for this, so it's time to do it.
Yeah, so that's part of it as well. So there's lots of things that we've been working on, but never quite been able to kind of get across the line. That hopefully will start to come together and make this place really great.
Any plans for the butterfly farm?
Butterfly farm? No butterfly farms. Although on a serious note, we obviously have got a lot of flood area, and we want to try and bring that bit back to nature rather than having it as it is now. So we're doing some work with the community trust about trying to bring a bit of wildlife back into there and do our bit in terms of that area, make it look nice as well. We've got the stuff that's going on with the memorial garden that the fans have been building near the barriers. There's huge amounts of things going on, and we can't wait for everybody to see some more of it.
Season
Stephen,
tickets.
just hang on.
Sorry. With like season tickets and match day prices, will there be any kind of increase or will it kind of stay the same?
I think at this stage, we're not even looking that far ahead, Stephen. You know.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's lots of clubs announce, and some clubs are actually trying to selling season tickets now for next season. It's not something that we've ever done. We've always waited until the season ends and had a look at our finances then and taken a more longer term view rather than doing it so soon. We know this time of the year it's priorities of families and Christmas and all this kind of stuff. So the last thing we're doing is encouraging people to buy season tickets just now. We don't need the cash. We wouldn't have needed the cash if the guys hadn't come in. We were okay, as I've said all along. But we'll wait and see. But we understand, and the guys understand the community and the way we are. Can't suddenly start trying to do something that we're not. We need as many fans to come. We need affordable football, and we need to encourage people to come to games. And that isn't going to be done by pricing people out. That's not what we're about. We're going to grow the club and make it more attractive to people to come, so more people come, and that's how we will grow, not by trying to squeeze every penny out of everybody else. That's not right. We won't be doing that.
Yeah, I mean, we've been on this journey, haven't we? You know, the fan zone is a great example of that. You don't have to charge people more to come if they're going to come and spend more money on the match day. They'll do that if they enjoy their experience. So it's a win-win for everybody in that regard.
This one's for Paul. You've had a rest of 10 minutes, Paul. I wondered if you could just talk us through, without doing away with any confidentiality or anything like that, talk us through how they Luke Armstrong, which is a big deal, I think, for Carlisle United, how it all came about.
Yeah, I mean, you don't actually need to be a football coach to know that Luke Armstrong's been a really effective player over the last few seasons. So he's a player that we've always liked as a group of staff. We've inquired probably 2 or 3 other times for him, but he was always too expensive for us. And we got to a point last summer, we were looking to bring a striker in, so we spoke to Harrogate again, and they told us the figures that Wrexham and MK Dons were paying for him. And it was a very short conversation. It ended at that point then. So obviously things happened, and funny enough, when we were, I think it was me, you, and Greg were still in the office on deadline day. It got to about 9:30, and we decided to ring Luke's agent again just to say, look, what's going on? Where are you? And he said, we're literally just pulling up to Wrexham. The deal's going to go through. So we sort of had a little bit of a cheeky nibble at that point, not expecting it to happen. So anyway, the deal fell through for whatever reason, no idea what it was. And the top and bottom of it was, Harrogate were a bit naffed off that they'd lost out on that hell of a sale they were going to get. Luke was really naffed off that he'd missed out on an opportunity to go and earn an incredible contract that he was going to be getting. So he went back to Harrogate. They come up with an agreement that he wasn't going to play because they thought he was going to go in January. So Greg, knowing Paul Thirlwell there and having a relationship, the conversation got started again that, you know, Luke's going to leave. And we basically said we can't afford him, and said, well, talk to us, you might be able to. So we ended up getting to a point where we agreed a fee. And I can assure you it is nowhere near what Wrexham were going to pay. We agreed a fee that we felt was a reasonable fee. We then got talking to his agent. Again, once we'd agreed the fee with Harrogate and we got permission to speak to Luke, we then started talking about it. He really liked the idea, really fancied it. We were able to agree a deal with his agent, Ben, and it basically was done. So I then had a little bit of a dilemma that we've agreed a deal between both clubs and the player, but he's not our player, and he was still going to be at Harrogate, so I was a little bit concerned about that. So we then started talking about, can I have him now? Can I bring him into us now to start working, to start training with us, because he wasn't involved in any matches. And I also had this fear that, you know, we've got games on 23rd, 26th, 29th, 1st, before we could actually sort of legally sign him. So I just had this concern that they could get a couple of injuries and say, do you know what, Luke, you're going to play for us, and he could get injured, and we'd given our word that we were going to sign him. So I wanted him into us, so we had control of that. So we managed to get him that we could put him on an insurance. He is actually still their player, but we're insuring him, and the deal will go through on the 1st of January for him to start. Well, we can't play him on the 1st, but no registrations can happen if they go through on that day. But he'll be available for Exeter away, and we can actually control his physical load that he's doing. Before the staff left today, we've got a plan now of exactly how many metres we need him to run, how much high intensity each day, how much sprinting he needs to do, so that come, I can't think what date it is in January, it's about the 6th of January, come that date, we'll feel as though he's done enough physical work to be ready to play at Exeter away, if selected.
Paul, you mentioned insurance, and I did get a question from a fan, so just while we're on that topic, does the club have insurance to pay salaries of injured players? And if so, is that just for our own, or would it also include loan players?
My understanding is, and Suzanne's probably better, I don't think we do have insurance to pay their wages. There are players, they're under contract, so we do have to continue paying them. Even if we have them on loan, we have to continue paying their wages. Last year, Nottingham Forest were absolutely brilliant, and when Finn went back, they paid his salary for that period that he was unavailable for selection. This year, I think I'm right in saying we're having to pay for everybody who's injured. Yeah, we're having to pay for everybody who's injured at the moment. The insurance policy covers us for any scans, any medical appointments, any surgeries. We're covered for all of those sorts of things, but not for salary. We still have to pay the salaries.
Hello. We've seen quite, and we're seeing with the easels, quite a bit of investment going into the club, but mainly for the new owners. When do you see the point where the club's income starts matching out your outlay?
We don't have the forecast for that right now, like the cash flow forecast where that's going to when that's going to happen. We're firm believers that if you make the right investment, if you do the right things up front, it's going to come back ROI. You know, it's going to come back to the club later. You know, we have to improve the facilities. We have to improve the fan experience to encourage and get more people coming to the matches. We want to do that. When we spoke at the kiosk, one thing I said is, you know, we're not in here for a financial windfall. We're in here because we love sports. We fell in love with Carlisle. We love everything about the city, and we're committed to it. This is our club. Just like it's your club, it's our club. We're going to do it together, and there's going to be an investment. We have to balance that. You know, if you might recall, the number one priority I said was the financial viability of the club. That to me is very important because the club has to sustain itself. We see what's going on with some other clubs, and we don't want to ever put this club in that situation. So we're going to make sensible investments, and we believe that ROI will come. You know, one thing that was really a blessing for us is when we did the analysis of Carlisle United, we did it on just the basis of the club and not really getting to know everybody and not getting to know all the management. You don't have that opportunity. But as we put like the player budget together, the one thing that it has just been impressive to Patty and I and the rest of the family is, you know, we feel with Paul has a great sense of value. Not Nigel, Suzanne has a great sense of value. That they look at that and they look at from our perspective that the money is their money, and you know if it's coming out of their pocket, would we pay for this player? Is this player? I've heard it several times. That's too much for that player, And I love when I hear that, because I know they're looking at it sensibly, saying that's not something that we think, we're going to get value from, even though it might be a solid player. So I think we have a solid team that's all looking at the available investment, and everybody wants to spend it wisely to build a long-term powerhouse, regional powerhouse up here. Like I say, eventually, soon, own the North.
Paul, you've said that you're hoping to get 6, possibly 7 players in through the window. We've had an early Christmas present today with the first one coming in. Thank you for that. Are you expecting to see 6 or 7 players leave the club, or are you hoping to increase the size of your squad throughout the window?
No, I want to increase the size of the squad. It's become really clear to me that our numbers were a bit low, so that's what I'm looking to do. I am looking to move some players on, but probably only maybe 2 or 3. But to be honest, that will only happen if somebody comes in for them, and if it's something that's right for them. It has to be something that they want to do. We will not force anybody out, because I'll be really honest with you, I like them all. They're all really good blokes. Everybody has opinions of them in terms of the football, but they're good people. They don't give me any trouble. They come in and they're professional in the way they work, so I'm not going to force anybody out of the football club. So there's times where I have to look at it from their career point of view. So if an opportunity comes up which gives them a longer time under contract at another football club, then out of respect I've got to offer them that opportunity. And there will be players who, once we start getting new faces coming in, will realise that they're going down the pecking order, or even further down the pecking order, and they will want to go and play. Because regardless of what anybody thinks, players want to play. They want to play first team football. So these lads are all really keen to try and get in our team at the moment. So if it comes to January and all of a sudden they look and think, well, I'm now even further behind and I'm probably not going to play them, the opportunity may come up for them to go somewhere else.
Well, it's another one for Paul, really. Would the club consider, say, a reserve side or a B team? I know Barrow's got a B team.
Yeah, it's something we are considering, something we're talking about. I don't know at what point the reserve team got stopped between me leaving in 06 and coming back whenever I did, but it was stopped. I think it is important, whether it's a reserve team or a B team or an under-21 team with the ability to play overage players, maybe 2 or 3, I think it's a really good idea. I'm not sure if I think it's a good idea to be in a structured league. I think it's good to be able to pick and choose the times when you need games, because if we were in a league at the moment and we currently have 15 outfield players who are fit and available, I probably wouldn't be taking a chance with any of them. Last week was a real blessing that the game against Barrow was postponed, because we would have really struggled, and it probably would have been a bit unfair to put the youth team boys in a game where Barrow would likely have had a stronger team, and it wouldn't have been a good education for them to go and get, a bit of a kicking off some senior players, which happens. So I want to try and form some sort of team, and we've discussed this today, because following on from that last question, I do hope to have a bigger pool of players available for the second half of the season, and we need a facility to keep them match fit, so that will come from playing games. We can actually organise, we get inundated with emails about clubs wanting to play a friendly fixture, but we're having to turn them down at the moment because we haven't got enough players to really pad it out. We will look at something moving further forward, but again, this is something that is affected by the facilities that we have, because if we have a B team, a 21s team, whatever it's going to be called, we have one pitch to train on at the moment, and we are struggling, because if we had a day the other week where to go up to Gretna because it was flooded on here, But we did some work where I wanted to do an 11v11 practice, and we had 6 players who were all doing latter stages of their return to play work. So Jake was working with them, and he literally had to run them up the side of the tarmac at Gretna to get some work done with them, because we didn't have any other facilities. So we need somewhere where we have more than one pitch. It then leads on to we need another coach to be able to take it. So there's all sorts of things that go with it, but it's definitely something that we are looking into and thinking about further down the line.
Yeah, that's good.
Just to follow on to this recruitment policy, in the past we've always had one player who's a bit of a talisman, a fan's favourite, who's got a pedigree in the game, such as Stan Bowles, Michael Bridges, Derek Manfield, one or two others. Are we liable to see somebody of that calibre in this next window?
Well, I could see you growing your hair and growing a beard like Luke, so maybe. Listen, we want all of our signings to be talisman, to be people who the fans look up to. You know, last season, you know, we had players like you know, unfortunately both left, people like Deno, like Morgan Feeney, who were characters. Hunts came into the football club and was as a local player was a character who everybody looked up to. So we want that. Unfortunately, and this is the nature of football, because the results are not particularly good at the moment, nobody looks at any of our players as being talisman. But the second half of the season, the challenge is to whoever they are in that dressing room, you stand up and be the talisman.
Question for Tom and Paddy. I've just checked the weather in Jacksonville, Florida, and it's 17, sunny with a gentle breeze. What were your thoughts when you stepped off the plane last week, looking at the weather over the last couple of days? Are you sure? And what's your plans for your first coming Christmas?
Well, first of all, we were delighted when we saw the weather, because we were chatting with Paul and others, and there 2 weeks ago, and he's like, "Tom, it's freezing over here. It's absolutely freezing." So there was a cold spell going on. It was like 85 in Jacksonville. I said, "That's pretty nice." The time was perfect. We stepped off the plane, and really, right now, Jacksonville is going through a cold spell. So it was like 57 or 61 today. I think was, you know, and it was 51 here. So we enjoy it. I mean, it's crisp. Now that freezing cold we haven't experienced yet. I know it's coming. I know it's yet. I've sat at a couple of the matches, and I thought I dressed warm. And holy cow! It's starting. The breeze starts coming. You feel it, and that's when it was still pretty mild. So I can only imagine when it's very, very cold, what it's going to be like. Cumbrian Christmas, we're excited about it. Our family always travels during the holidays. We've done that. It's always been a tradition of ours. We like to do that, whether that be going skiing or going to see in a new country that we haven't seen. So it was a no-brainer for us to come over. Patty and I came over a little bit early. The other ones the younger ones are coming over on, they leave Thursday and arrive here Friday. So we're going to be spending the holidays here. It's really not a change, you know, because we enjoy the travel, and we've enjoyed the warm welcome that we've received here in Carlisle. So we're looking forward to it. I think the entire family is looking forward to it.
Question for Paul and maybe Nigel and Suzanne. Is there any more players before the transfer window opens? And is there any home games that will maybe do like a 10k for MK service to get more crowd?
Yeah, I'll answer the bit about the players because I have no idea what the question was the second part. No, I don't. I'm not expecting any to be in before January the 1st. There are no free agents out there that. Well, a couple of things really. Firstly, that I think are going to improve us and want to come to us. So there'll be nothing. We'll go with this group. We had the 16 outfield players on Saturday, which included the young lad Aaron Fitzpatrick, and that made up the 16 outfield players. Jack Ellis is available, that makes 17. Hunts and Taylor Charters are now available and fully fit to train, so that makes 19. JJ will be fit hopefully on the 1st of January. So and Mox hopefully will be fit for Saturday as well. So his injection seems to be settling his hip issue down. So he hopefully will be fit. So we think and we hope we've got enough to get us through the Christmas programme, and I don't expect anybody else in before the turn of the year.
Oh, yeah, the offer game. Yeah, well, post Christmas we'll have a look at it as we kind of go into the second half of the season and pick a good fixture, and we'll definitely do an offer this year again.
Any more from the audience?
I was just going to ask Paul how close he had to resolving a keeper situation.
What situation?
Getting another first team keeper.
Well, we had it was a bit of a nightmare really, because it was really clear that we were trying to sign Ross Stewart because he was a free of registration. We were told he was free of a registration, and unfortunately there was a mistake made by a team in Scotland who registered him on an emergency loan in August, and they forgot to deregister him. So he was signed for 1 week from the 14th to the 21st of August. That was the contract he signed. But nobody at that end realised that you also needed to deregister him at the end for for him to become a free agent. So we had all sorts of issues over that, which wasted 3 weeks of his time, 3 weeks of our time, because if we'd have known that at the start, we wouldn't have even bothered because we couldn't have done it. So I am no closer to getting anybody else in, because there are keepers out there who are free of registration but don't want to come. They want to carry on training on their own, training at clubs with no salary. So that's not the type of people we want in this football club. So I hope that we will be bringing another goalkeeper in to strengthen that department in the January transfer window.
Regarding incomings, Paul, and I don't expect any names, but have we reached agreement with any players that, yeah, I'm definitely going to come?
No, is the quick answer to that. No, we haven't. We've got lots of people who we are speaking to, as in agents and clubs, and we've got a sort of a vague idea of who is available for us. But it's really difficult in January, because in the ideal world we want permanence, and there's not many clubs that are prepared to let them go, because I think there's a value in having loan players, because you can normally get a better level of player for less money. But in terms of the permanence, there's very few clubs who are prepared to let good players out in January. So it is difficult, but we have lots of things. I suppose you could say there's lots of irons in the fire, but they count for nothing until they're in the building, in my opinion.
Anything more from the room? I've got plenty of back pockets, so to speak. I'll fire it.
There you go.
While I walk over to you, I'll just fire a quick one in. This was from Colin Burkett. Are the club going to reinstate the match day programme?
I'll do that one. We talked about this probably at every single fans forum. The programme in itself, the income that we get from the number of sales, even though the crowds have gone up, we don't see the corresponding growth when people buy the programme. We didn't before this season when we had good crowds. It was always flat. It's almost like a fixed number of the same people buying them every week. So we decided that we would stop it. As we sit here now, I don't think that we're going to change that. We always keep things under review and never say never. But as we sit here now, it doesn't look like it, just doesn't look viable. I think people get their information about the club in so many ways now. Comments from a manager, whereas before they used to read them in the programme. Now you can read them every day on a website, 5 minutes after Paul said them, just about. So there's very little value in that. and fans see that and they get their information elsewhere. So very much doubt that it'll be reinstated. What we have kind of done is to try and take some simple elements out of the programme. So like team lineups, some bits about the opposition, and some bits about past games that are quite interesting and don't feature anywhere else, and try and put them into something that works as kind of a little match day preview with a poster for the kids that they can get signed by the players, and that is proving quite popular, nice and simple to put together, and they're great for the kids. They get them signed, and that works. So we're kind of continuing with that theme rather than programs.
What positions are we looking to strengthen in the transfer market?
So just say the first bit again. What did you say?
What positions?
What positions? Well, I've just said we need another goalkeeper because I'm not comfortable with just the two. I would like another striker. I think because of Callum Guy's injury, we are short of a midfield player, or possibly even two, to give us a bit more stability there. And if the right central defender came available, which they are very difficult to find, I would look for that as well. So there's quite a number of positions, and that's not me being disrespectful to anybody who's in the club in that particular position now, but it's just a case of we need more numbers. We're very low on numbers, and I need to add to it.
Just follow on from that, Paul. Are we seeing any challenges? Obviously, it's clear that we need new players, and clubs will know that. We've got new ownership, and is that proving difficult with regards to agents or clubs adding a premium on?
Not at the moment, no. I mean, it's amazing how word gets round, because yesterday I was in Manchester at a family celebration for Christmas, because we don't get to see the in-law side of the family. So I was down there, and I got a phone call from a director of football who said, "Oh, I've heard a rumour you've got some money and you're looking to buy a striker." I said, "Well, you may be true, yeah, but not sure about we've got some money." And he said, "Well, I've got this player." And I said, "No, we couldn't afford him. What sort of wages are on?" And he told me the wages, and I just said, "Look, there's nobody in our football club earning anything like that." And that's from another League One club, by the way. I said, "There's nobody in our football club earning that sort of money." So that's the first time that I've had a call which has said, "You're loaded, get your money out." No, I haven't had that yet. But you know, as Tom said, myself, Greg, the way that we work, we're basically spending our own money. We're not spending somebody else's money. I want to get the best for this football club, but I also want good value as well. And every signing, every transfer you make is a gamble. We don't know how they're going to work out. Some work that you're not sure about. Some, fly and are fantastic signings, but they don't all. And that's every club. You can be Manchester City and be spending hundreds of millions. Man United, who I think I heard yesterday, spent 400 million or something since Ten Hag went in. Chelsea have spent $1 billion. There's no guarantee it's going to work. You've just got to hope you pick the right player, the right personality. You hope that you get a bit of luck with it, and then everybody's happy then.
Just on the theme of budgets, we have a question from Sam Pocock. How small was our budget last season and potentially that was set for the start of this season? I think he's asking compared to other clubs, league table type thing.
So last season on the one that we were promoted on, we're probably where we've been for a few years before, which is probably bottom 6. So promoted with a bottom 6 budget, which is remarkable. We don't need. Nobody in this room needs me to say that. Everybody gets it. And that level of budget and the season before added together to get promoted makes it off the scale remarkable. So that's where we were last season. This season, the budget probably went up probably 50% this season, and that again leaves us probably in the bottom 6. But what is different in League 1 to League 2 is that the spread is much bigger. So whereas in League 2 the spread went from here to there, in League 1 it goes from there to over here. And the difference between those at the bottom versus those at the top is colossal. Absolutely colossal. So it's a whole different dynamic in terms of what clubs spend. But as everybody who's heard me before will know, and I'll say it again, it isn't necessarily just about what you spend. Paul's listed a lot of clubs there from up and down the pyramid who've spent colossal amounts of cash and don't have too much to show for it. And we've shown, and other clubs have shown, that if you have a reasonable amount of cash and you spend it wisely and you're well coached and you do things right and you get some momentum, you can outpunch people who spend a lot more than you. And that has to be our mantra even now with where we are. We can't spend our way to success, because even though we've got more spending power now, it is still nowhere near what many clubs in this division will spend. So we have to continue with the modern philosophy that we've had before, which is what Paul talked about there, which is spend wisely, spend the money like it's your own, get value for money, build a team, coach it well, prepare well, overperform, and then you can do all kinds of stuff. And that's football, and we've seen it year after year, and that has to be our model. I think where we are now is that we've got a bit more, and we're going to have more tools to deal with, more cards to play, more tools in our kit bag, and that will make it far better for everybody. And if we can add that to some growth off the field in terms of income, then we get double the power. And that's when things can get really, really, really exciting. So that's the kind of model, but financially it is tough, and League One is tough. But make no bones about it, I've talked long and hard about the need for ownership change. If we'd been sat here now with no ownership change, we'd have been looking at a whole different proposition going into January. And you guys know that, so we can look forward with a good degree of optimism, I think. And I think we're all ready for that, so bring it on.
On the theme of business growth and expansion, Tom and Patty, you dropped a hint that you might be looking to expand your own business interest into the UK. Have you had any more thoughts of that, or has it all been football? So
to date, it's been mostly football. We have dropped some hints in terms of our core business back in the States, which is a third-party logistics company. We do not own our own assets. We subcontract everything that we move throughout the North America. I guess you would say we have 80,000 carriers under contract. There has been some discussion about, could that be done over here in Carlisle as well? I think it can. There could potentially be a Magellan office over here. So that's something that we're thinking about. We run a business that's 24/7, 365 days a year. So we have somebody or multiple people in the office, every hour of the day. Could we have an office over here that, with the offset in the hours, that could kind of help us with what happens in the United States? Potentially, could we teach what we do back there to the folks here? Yes, we could. So there's thoughts on that. It's not a commitment that we're going to do that. There's thoughts on that. We're exploring that, but we could potentially see that happening. I've had several approach me about, hey, we've got a logistics or a transportation company that's for sale if you'd like to buy it, or hey, there's the Carlisle Airport, let's start a logistics hub up there. I said, we've got a lot on our plate right now, and so we're going to stick with where we're we're at, but I certainly wouldn't rule that out down the road.
And just to echo, when we go home, when we went back, I had employees come and say, pick me. I'll
Yeah.
go. So, Carlisle's on the net.
Anything else from the audience, or should I go back to my list?
Yeah, for that.
Sorry?
Just going back to the Blackpool experience, I mean, okay, the pitch, I think that worked very good. Have you got any plans to make where the Blackpool supporters are going to be when we come here to get wet? To get wet and burn through all of the seat, and stewards who didn't care where you sat, and well, that we just were. I didn't feel. All the grounds we've been to, I didn't feel very well at all at Blackpool. We were treated like second-class citizens. The first 3 rows were covered in bird poo, and there was piles of poo all over the place. It was disgusting. I just thought, have you got any plans to return the favour?
I don't.
Paul, let's cast our minds back to the penalty shootout at Wembley. Jordan Gibson finished that game, and yet he didn't feature as one of the 5 penalty takers, and yet I guess we get a penalty on Saturday, and he's probably your number 1 pick. How would you explain that transition? And those choices.
Well, I think I've said it before, so sorry if you've heard it before, if I'm boring you, but we had a plan going into the playoffs where the day after the first leg of the playoffs, we started our preparation for penalties, and it was something which I took from the FA, where, I don't know if you remember, that England had never won a penalty shootout, so there was a massive piece of research done by an analyst in the FA to try and work out why, what was the issue, where did it all come from, what was the mental block that we were all having, because it was obvious that we had players who were technically good enough to be able to score a penalty but we could never win. So they did all this research into it, and I basically nicked the process off the FA really. I brought it with me, where the thing that they worked out is that you can't practice penalties, but it's more about preparing for penalties. So you can't practice because you can't replicate the emotions that you're going to feel when it's a penalty to affect a promotion. So we prepared for penalties, so we did penalty shootouts every day, starting with 4 goals on the pitch, and everybody took 1 in each goal, and then we dropped it to 3, and then to 2, 1 at each end, and then 1 where everybody had to stand in the middle and you had to do the walk, because there's different pressure points. So there's a nervousness when the whistle goes and you think, oh Jesus, it might be me taking a penalty here. Then there's when you're all waiting in that huddle to hear whether or not you're going to take one. Then there's when you stood in the centre circle. That's when you start changing your mind. You've got the walk up to the spot where you're starting to change your mind again. And the actual penalty itself was considered to be the least nerve-wracking of all 5 pressure points. So we talked about this with the players. I said to them, it is normal. You are going to panic. That's fine. Just accept it. Just have a process in your mind of what you want to do. And we kept a tally of every penalty that they took, and training's videoed, so I watched them back, and if they had a consistent process that they went through, and my view was, so we then counted up. I looked at how they took them, were they consistent with what they did they keep changing how they take them and all that sort of stuff, and we came up with a list. So before the game the list was on the wall, that this is the penalty takers. If we go to penalties, this is what's going to happen. So let's say, for example, Christian Dennis was number 4, but he got took off. Then the number 6 penalty taker would then step forward and take it, and we just had that plan. And unfortunately for Gibbo, he wasn't in the top 5 because of what I'd seen and because of his numbers that he'd scored in all of the practice and the preparation for it. So he didn't get the option, and I basically, when we got to the end of the game, I took any of the stress of am I taking it, and I just said, right, this is the order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. anybody not comfortable? They all said yes, and that was how it happened really. So, but Gibbo this season has basically jumped up and said, I want to take penalties. So we took them, and we have missed a couple. Joe, that's annoyed me that day because Gibbo was on penalties, but he bowed down to Joe Garner's pressure and he let Joe take it and missed. So I wasn't very happy about that. Ryan Edmondson missed one, Harrogate away. The exact same process he went through for the one he scored, and I hate that style of penalty where they walk up and they stutter and stop, and I hate it, and I don't normally let them take it if they do that, but he scored, I think he scored every one in our preparation barring one for the final, so he stepped up and took it and missed it, and if he does it like that, he won't take them again.
I guess there's a lot of other really helpful things that you've picked up from your time at the FA. Can I look at how you're starting to develop and expand the staff, physio, strength and conditioning? We've got an agreement now with I think it's Statsbomb, you know, so that all that side, how important and how relevant is that to getting through?
I think it's massive. I think it's massive in terms of our preparation and our reviewing of games, and it's huge in terms of the recruitment as well, because we're trying to, in terms of the recruitment, we're trying to eliminate as many mistakes as we possibly can. So we make inquiries about what sort of characters they are they a good personality, do they come in and train right every day? With Statsbomb, we can put in the different criteria that we want, and it'll come up with this spider's web of where they sit in relation to the rest of the league, the rest of the standards. You know, we can put a right side centre back in. You know, we could put Sam Lavelle in, for example, and it'll come up with a spider's web, and then over the top of that we can overlay other right-sided centre backs in the league, and where does Sam fit in relation to everybody else? Is he average? Is he above average? Is he below average? And that'll help us with the recruitment. There's also there's other bits of software that you can get that gives you the physical data from players who are playing, so we can see whether or not he can get around the pitch. Can he sprint? Is he a sprinter in the game? Does he do lots of high intensity running? Is he physically robust enough to deal with League One football? So it's all of those things. Now we've got these things that we're working with, but the truth is we're still going to make mistakes, and I accept that I have made mistakes with some signings. That's just the nature of the game. But we're trying to get as much information as we can to put a full package, a full picture together of a player, so that hopefully we've done enough background checks to try and find the right one. So it'll help in all of that. The staffing issue is that we have a medical department with Chris Brunskill, who is just run off his feet trying to deal with the injuries that we've had, and we are probably the least staff of any club at this level, probably even League 2 level, if I'm going to be honest with you. So we needed more staff in that department to be able to deal with the injuries and to deal with the not just the diagnosis, treatment, but also the return to play, but also the day-to-day management of players, because I can assure you players don't just come in, stick the kit on and go out. They need wrapping in cotton wool. They need everything doing for them. So we need to have staff, and again, it's to take their excuses away. So we try to do everything right for them so they have no excuse. So that's the medical side of it. On the analysis side, we're adding a member of staff because Jacob Blaine is just a lot, well, he does it, but he has an intern in who works alongside him, so they have loads and loads of work to do. But I wanted to get an analyst to work alongside Greg so that when we're looking at players we can get all of the stats put together. Greg's old school. He is the man who likes to go to games, who likes to be chatting to the agents, who likes to be, communicating with coaches and managers, and and he comes in and he still talks absolute rubbish with all the players as well. He's got the worst banter going, so he does all of that. So we needed somebody who's really hands-on in terms of IT and pulling stats together and pulling data together. So I'm going to move Jacob to do that role, because that's where what he sees himself. And we need to bring a first-team analyst in to help me with opposition analysis, also live coding of games, of our own games. We have training video every day. I don't ask them to code it, because I literally just watch it back myself and code it myself. There's lots of things that have come on in football, and staffing wise. When I was here first time round, we had no analysts, so I literally used to just get the video of a game and I'd watch it back myself on my Betamax video, and that's how we used to do it. But now more staff are into it. It makes it really easy. So when I get on the coach at an end of a game, or when I leave here at the end of the game, I get the game put onto my laptop, and it's sectioned off. So every time we build the attack, I can just click on a line and I can look at every instance in our own defensive third where we're in possession. I can look at what happens in the middle of the pitch when we're creating, how we finish the attack. I can look at every little incident in and out of possession, and it just makes my life a hell of a lot easier for when I'm then putting clips together, to then I can pull the midfielders in and just go through if I want to talk about in possession, I can go through and create the attack clips, and there might be 25 of them in a game, and I can just go through them really quickly without having to fast forward, rewind and get it all on. So it's staffed to make everything better, to make it easier, and to give the players the best preparation and review as we possibly can.
And just the final bit, the enhancement of these packages, and again this was a question from Martin Hunter, could that in any way reduce the potential for injury? Or that's just a random thing, part of the game?
Well, we certainly hope it is. I mean, that's why we've added to that's why we're adding to the medical department and also adding to the performance department. We are hoping to do that because there has been mistakes made along the line. I don't honestly think it will stop injuries, because you look right throughout the country with all of the Premier League clubs, Championship clubs, who have fantastic training facilities, really, really well qualified and experienced staff in place, good coaches, but still get injuries. So, if I look at our injuries that we've had this season, there's still to this point no explanation why we've got a real high number of ACL injuries, which Callum Guy picked up. We don't know why that is, whether it's to do with footwear, whether it's to do with surfaces, whether it's to do with the physical demands of the current game. Nobody can give us an answer to that, so that's unlucky that he's picked up that injury. Go to JJ, got smashed on the edge of the box at Accrington and fell awkwardly and dislocated his shoulder. That's just bad luck. We've had ankle injuries where people get, whether it's a twist or whether it's a kick and a twist, they get ankle injuries, which puts them out for a while. It's the soft tissue injuries that we're doing everything that we possibly can to try and take those away, and that is calf strains, that's quad injury, a thigh injury or a hamstring injury. We're trying to do everything we possibly can on that. So we've got new equipment in the gym in terms of the screening of players, which we do on a match day +2. So we have a base level of what we expect them to be able to do on like a groin squeeze or a hamstring stretch, things like that. So if they're not up to those levels, we then adapt their training to get them back to their normal levels. So we're looking at all of those things to try and understand the fatigue levels of the players. But again, I'll say it, we're still going to get injuries, unfortunately, because that's just sod's law.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Good.
Not through a
Yeah.
microphone.
Yesterday I took somebody down to. Oh, have I got it on? Yeah, I've got it on now. Yesterday I took somebody down to Cumberland Infirmary for a scan. And I'm thinking, when I got the call, I've got to take them down on the Sunday. And I'm thinking, Sunday? So anyway, off I went. And sure enough, I got to the hospital and there wasn't a lot of people around, and I wandered round the place looking for somewhere to go, and asked this girl, and she had University of Cumbria on the back. Do you know where to go? And she helped us to go to one place. They said, yeah, we've got here, but this is the wrong place. Directed us there. It made us think that there's facilities available on a Sunday in this city from the NHS, albeit it's a private company working with the NHS. And for people from the University of Cumbria who were working in there on a Sunday. Have we got connections with the Cumbrian Infirmary? Have we got connections with University of Cumbria?
Yes, we do. So our doctors, we have a pool of doctors now for match days and for during the week, and they all work in the Cumbrian Infirmary A&E. So we have connections there, and we tap into University of Cumbria, University of Central Lancashire to get. That's where we get our interns from. So we've had medical interns in, we've had analysis interns in, we had the S&C for the academy is a lecturer at the university, so we used him last summer. Is that for me? We're tapping into them. We are tapping into them to get them, because we actually feel, well, we benefit anyway from having them, but we actually think it's a really good experience for them to come and be working in a professional football environment if that's the route they want to go down. So yes, we do tap into them as much as we possibly can.
There was a question received from Martin Hunter, and I'm just going to adapt it slightly so it's not person specific. So it's for every member of the panel, this one. At some point in the future, you're going to receive criticism.
Welcome to my world.
Some have already done it on the t-shirt. How will you respond to it? If we just have a quick one sentence from each member of the panel. How do you personally deal with criticism?
Shall I start this end? I think what you say at the start, at some point in the future. I think I've had plenty in the past, and my approach, as anybody who's dealt with me will know, is that I tackle things head on. When people want to say things to me, I will listen to them. Listen to anybody, criticise me, and do anything in that regard. I think it's part and parcel. I think as supporters, everybody's passionate. They want the best for this football club, and my view is, by right, you get to speak to me and tell me what you think. As long as you don't abuse me, I'm not bothered. I'll listen to anything. I think you just got to front it up, and I think you gain respect by fans. From fans, if you do that, whether it's on the station after heavy defeats away from home, and I'm running into plenty of you there, or in the good times, and we all stay friends together because we all want the best for the club. So that's how I see it.
He always takes all the good stuff. I would say before you reach out, please read. We're trying to communicate everything, be as transparent as possible. So before you voice something, be sure you know exactly, all the details, because it's posted on the website. Everybody's giving the information the best we can. So take a good hard look before you say something negative, because we're right. We're in it with you. So remember that.
I would say I'd try to find out the address of that individual. But no, in all honesty, I mean, it comes with sports. You have your highs and lows, and you're going to get negative feedback, and you're going to get criticism. My request is just be respectful. I know that's part of sports. It happens. Sometimes I'm angry at some of the sports teams that I've supported, but I've always been respectful, and that's all I ask is, share your opinions, but just be respectful.
I have two choices, and it's either beer Moretti or red wine. So I go home, open the fridge, choose one of them, and then get on with it the next day. No, it's football. We have to just deal with it. It's one of those things you do become a little bit thick-skinned to it. But if I feel that it's an unjust criticism, again, going back to Blackpool, like the Luke plunge, then I will say something, and I might get criticised for it, and people think I'm bleating about nothing, but I will say it, because I'm at that stage in my life where I think I can, so that's what I will do. But I accept that there is criticism in football. It is perfectly normal. Doesn't mean I like it, doesn't mean I have to accept it, but you also have to accept that I might criticise you as well.
As the guys have said, we know it's part of working in football and you can't please everybody all of the time. But I think from us, the best we can do is we can listen, we can learn, and we can respond properly to criticism.
From my point of view, I think criticism's just feedback, and all feedback's useful. If everybody's criticising you, maybe there's something wrong that needs to be changed. I know from a kiosk point of view, we've had an awful lot of criticism over the years for various things. I mean, the amount of times we've messed up this deal apparently was beyond belief. But when criticism is levelled at you, obviously it's not pleasant, but you just need to take it on board and deal with it. Whether you take it on as something you need to change, or you just brush it off as somebody without the knowledge that they're trying to use. So yeah, it's me.
Can I just criticise the glass bar? Can we get some aircon? Roasting. Danger.
Well, we're just waiting on the fourth official putting the board up, coming into added time. Just on that topic, Paul, the season started in a storm around time wasting and play acting, and we saw some ridiculous, lengthy 9-10 minute added time things, and it all just seems to have kind of gone away now. Is that your impression from the inside looking out as well?
Yeah, I think what happened, we went into that first weekend and all the officials were given the guidelines of how they were expected to do it. And then we played, it wasn't the second game, I think it was about the third or fourth game we played somewhere, and I went to speak to the officials at the end, because we get, again, going back to the sports code pack that I get of our games, I can see exactly what the ball in play is, how long it's been in play, and from our first game, where I think we had something like 11 minutes, I think it was, that we played, we did end up playing 12 and a half or 13 minutes in the first game. The ball in play was actually higher over the 90 minutes than it was in this particular game, and they dropped it down to about 3 minutes of stoppages, and I went to ask the question, and they said that Howard Webb had a discussion with all of PGMOL to say, you did it wrong for the first few weeks, this is how you're supposed to do it, but they just never bothered telling us about it. So that's where it all changed. They misinterpreted the rules that they'd set themselves. We're the only country that set those rules. None of the others in UEFA or FIFA had followed those guidelines. So we were the only one who did it. But they have changed, but they've sort of calmed down on a lot of things. The silly things like only one coach can stand up at a time and things like that. And it was actually quite pleasing, because the referee on Saturday, who I didn't think had a great game, but he actually said to us before, when we went to do team sheets, that I'm not going to stop it if you need your assistant to come and stand next to you to talk about substitutions. I'm not going to be getting the fourth official to come and stop that, which was really pleasing to hear, because it's not, when I want to be visible in the technical area for the players more than anything. I don't think they listen to me or can't hear me half the time, but I think it's important to be visible. So if there's things that I want to discuss with Gav, he might come to me and say, have you thought about doing this? Or I might be looking round to him and saying, I'm thinking of doing this, what do you think about it? And Gav got a yellow card for it early on the season. Thankfully it wasn't me, it was Gav who got it. But it's a silly rule, there's no reason for it. You know, we don't berate fourth officials and very rarely do we berate referees either. So I think it's just a bit of a daft rule, but I think they are starting to calm down on it all now. I still think there's other things that they should still be nipping in the bud in terms of surrounding referees and contesting every decision, and even some of the things that are going on in other technical areas. I think they should be clamping down a little bit more, but they are seem to be being a bit more sensible about it now, I think.
Well, I think that just about wraps it up for tonight. I hope you've all enjoyed the proceedings. We've had a real good mix of questions, both from the floor and submitted online. I think every panellist has had a chance to answer questions and contribute. So it just leaves me to sign off with one appeal. I think most of you got collared on the way in to buy raffle tickets. There'll be a chance to buy them on the way out again, I guess, gents, will it? Yeah. For those people watching online, we do keep regularly publicising the online link. And going back to one of the earlier questions, it's really important to protect the heritage of the club. Things can be lost, as we've found in previous floods. So we continue to collate, gather, catalogue all of our memorabilia. We hope that we can really push on next year with some exciting plans that we hope will come to fruition. We've heard about the potential of a museum here, so all the proceeds from that raffle will go specifically to protecting the club heritage. So any support that you can give before the draw on the 4th of January. And we want to send a real big thank you out to local businesses and sponsors who've backed us with some so if you can, get involved. But without further ado, I'll bid you all good night. Keep back in the blues as you do every week in, week out. I know a lot of you guys do all the away games as well, putting some incredible miles, and your support is really valued by everybody. And fingers crossed for a bright future.